Thanks everyone for joining us today for this Meridian West webinar. So today we're going to be talking through a recent project that we did with Rewards Gateway. So Reward Gateway is a kind of HR tech firm, and we worked with them on their very successful economic value study thought leadership campaign. So today I'm joined by my colleagues Ethan Murphy, who is a consultant at Meridian West, and Alex Powell, Director of Client Cultural Insights at Reward Gateway, to talk through this project. So we'll just start with some introductions, and then we'll talk through the work that we did and how this can help benefit others in the B2B space with our thought leadership. So Ethan, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bertie. My name's Ethan Murphy. I'm a consultant at Meridian West, and I worked closely with Bertie, Alex, and the kind of wider RG team as well on this economic value study. Really helped with some of the kind of survey design, some of the analysis that we did, and also building some of the kind of personalized benchmarking and data visualizations as well. So it was a really interesting project, and obviously it's been really successful, which we're really glad about. And I'm really excited to kind of talk through some of the processes behind that today.
Great. And Alex?
You bet. My name is Alex Powell. I am involved in the marketing department at Reward Gateway, and I am a combination of research. So I look at insights, where we need to gather research from the larger communities of HR within the geographies we support, as well as our internal client data, as well as working directly with clients to determine what it is about how they work with our HR technology that drives results. So we have reward and recognition technology, communications, a lot of people systems. And so the technology is all well and good, but really where I live and breathe is what do they need to do? How do they need to use it so they see not just people outcomes, but business outcomes. So that's my role.
Great. And I'm Bertie Heppel. I'm Associate Director at Meridian West, and have worked on this project, of course, and I've worked on a number of thought leadership projects across the professional services and B2B space. So I think we wanted to kind of showcase this project because it's a particularly relevant and I think interesting example of one that kind of utilize methods that to kind of personalize the outputs and take the results of the thought leadership that step further from just the publishing of a single report, and really turn it from a lecture into a conversation with clients. This is something that we always kind of try to encourage in the work that we do, and it's certainly something that I think can boost longevity, take that the kind of return on investment that one step further, and really make the most out of a long form research-based thought leadership project like this. So we're going to be talking kind of briefly through some of the work that we did, but just to begin with, we have just a short video from Reward Gateway highlighting, giving a bit more information about this this campaign and some of the results that came out of it as well.
When you're having those conversations to gain buy-in from your board or your senior leaders for a people investment, and you're able to clearly quantify the correlation between the investment that you're making around the benefits that you offer your people and an increase in 5 to 7% in business performance, that becomes a much more compelling business case. This is the QR code that you can use to download the report. If you want to take part in contributing your data to the economic value study, you can do so using this QR code. This is just the start.
It doesn't have an end point. It's open, it's live, it's organic, it's dynamic.
Be a part of this movement to focus on appreciation and get better data about what people need.
So I hope that gives everyone a bit of an indication as to what this project was and what it was about. And there's some kind of clear headlines that come out of there already. There's a point that your colleague Nabel made there, Alex, about giving HR leaders within organizations the space and the kind of mandate to kind of prove and justify the worth of their function. And there's also I think a lot of kind of interesting stuff there around the return on investment for Reward Gateway itself. But before we kind of go into that, I'd be just interested to ask you just to kind of tell us a little bit about this campaign. So what was the genesis of it? How did Reward Gateway identify, economic value as a topic that was worth exploring in research?
Yeah, so it's certainly not the first time someone's looked at it, but it is a surprisingly tricky topic to cover. If we just look at organizational structure, the people who are passionate about people, that are focused on supporting their employees, are not always the ones that have all the business metrics. They may not be at the table in discussions about business metrics, but they need to be able to get the budget in order to further propagate those people initiatives. So what really the genesis of this came from our CMO, Mark South, went to a huge HR conference in the US, 20,000 attendees. And what he found is there really wasn't any interesting ROI being discussed. There was a lot of what your people need, but not a lot of proof about why it would help. So when we looked to explore that, to really stamp what the ROI of the technology we provided, of the initiatives we provided, we came upon some real challenges. We needed companies to share with us some pretty sensitive information about where they were spending their money, what initiatives they were focused on, and the outcomes that drove within their business. So what is your net profit? What is your growth? Information they are not going to bandy about lightly. We needed to get all of that information and relatively easily. Not everybody has the same information. Not everyone measures employee engagement even in the same way. So if we wanted to be able to say, you're doing X, it's resulting in these results for your people, and it's resulting in those results for your business, what we found is that was easier to do one-on-one, but really challenging to do at a larger scale. And as you saw in the video, we have 430 companies currently that have been willing to provide us with that information. But we needed a lot of creativity and cleverness in approaching this problem, because every time we thought we had a solution, it felt like we were hitting an obstacle. But the question of how does people initiative drive business was such an important one for us and our clients that we were excited to partner with Ethan and Bertie and Meridian West to solve that problem.
And of course, a big part of this is the data itself, right? And what you've just said about needing to find a way to quantify and measure employee engagement in a kind of consistent way across a wide range of different types of organization. I'd just be interested to know what do you think the kind of role of researcher was in kind of facilitating the topic that you wanted to explore here, and could it have been done without it?
Well, we went back and forth in our exploration of this. Should we just be interviewing people? Right? When we look at what are your goals, what are you implementing? In different countries, people have different benefits. They have different strategies they're using. It's so personalized. Different people understand those differently. So it's almost like in order to do this, one round would have been to get entrenched in an organization and interview 5 to 10 people about what their goals were using their language, what their people initiatives were, what the metrics were that were potentially unique to their organization, how that drove results. And that's going to be really different. The results they care about in a manufacturing organization, things like shrink and quality and time to delivery, are very different than the results that like a B2B professional services firm would care about, which is like customer NPS. So we went from do we just dedicate the rest of our lives to interviewing our clients and getting individual case studies? Or is there a way for us to really start to gather a database of this information? How do we do that? And with the survey that we were able to partner with you on, we were able to really bridge a lot of those gaps, solve a lot of those problems, and start to gather data that we could, as you saw in the video, share out with people, but also create conversations with. People really care about this. I was actually just in Australia. I was doing a presentation on this data. I made a joke about how a presentation on data might be a snooze fest for people that were there, but it actually was the highest rated session at the event. People were thrilled to have data that would prove that the efforts they put forth were generating results for their business. And again, it's the mass of companies that contributed that made it a difference. If we had 5-10 case studies that took us all year to pull together, that's not going to give us the credibility and the power of 435 companies that we've now seen downloaded 2,000 times that has generated more than 2 million in potential business for us. So the credibility of the research, as tricky as it was to get it across multiple industries, multiple roles, multiple countries, has really done a ton to push this forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, it was a tricky thing to manage, and certainly involved a fair amount of finessing on the kind of research design side. I'll turn to Ethan now, Ethan, because you were the one who did the hard work on this. So what kind of preparations did we have to make to design the research and make sure that we were going to end up with a consistent data set that told the story that we wanted to tell?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think obviously Alex and the team came to us with such a good, strong idea and of what they wanted to do and what they wanted to achieve. That was really helpful. And I think when we're doing, obviously, we do a lot of research for B2B. We always try and look at, what's the end goal of what we want to get out of this and what data do we need in order to get to that. And I think that really helped us shape and design the survey that we did. Because obviously part of this was, as Alex was saying, is really getting the ROI out of the different benefits that people have and different bonuses. So we had to get those kind of key metrics and outcomes for employee engagement and also business performance. But the difficulty and challenge was there, as Alex was saying, not everyone collects all those, or would kind of HR and people team leaders have access to those. So there was a bit of a fine kind of balance between kind of accuracy, feasibility, but also kind of relevance. So I think in the end, we obviously worked closely with Alex, but the wider stakeholders as well and team to kind of come up with some kind of key metrics. And part of that was a bit of a soft launch to see, okay, which metrics really landed, which were we able to get results around, which I think was actually really impactful because it allowed us to create the kind of 0 to 10 self-evaluated ratings, which we used for a lot of analysis, which was supporting some of these wider metrics, but also allowed us to get enough data, kind of good sample size data to do some of the meaningful analysis that we wanted to do, whilst also kind of remaining relevant to the theme. And then we had some of those kind of key metrics around growth rates, labor force turnover, etc., for some of the kind of more depth analysis as well. But it gave us that kind of benchmark score that every respondent would have. Which is obviously key towards some of the outputs being not only the report but the kind of data visualization benchmark as well. And then obviously there were the kind of different areas that we wanted to look into. So we wanted to, for the report, for instance, we wanted to look into different areas such as kind of HR team priorities and some of the challenges they face with some open-ended, which gives us just a bit more kind of flavor about some of the initiatives that they're taking as well. So I think, I think this applies to kind of all research, but I think, spending a lot of time at the start, especially with the RG team and wider stakeholders, to really kind of see what we want to get out of this, and then working and building a survey. Because I think one of the maybe slight issues is sometimes it's so exciting to kind of, you got this idea and you want to just jump into data collection, whereas actually, the worst thing you can do is kind of do a surveying and realize actually, there's data that you should have, or it'll be really good to have this. So I think spending that time up front and actually working really closely with the team was really valuable.
Yeah. I mean, we certainly did spend a lot of time just in the kind of development phase, didn't we, to get this to work as we wanted it. I suppose one of the conflicts that we had was that, to achieve what we wanted to achieve, we needed to make sure that there was consistency in the data set. But ultimately, for the messages to land at the other end of it, we needed to make sure that the narrative was a bit more personal, had a bit more of a human element, and that meant just tailoring the message and being able to kind of speak directly to all the different types of clients that Reward Gateway has. But Alex, I'll come to you on this in a sec. But Ethan, there was a lot of kind of work in the kind of analysis techniques that we used that went into this. Could you just kind of talk through some of those briefly?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the kind of most simple ways that we kind of built in personalization was just to be able to filter and chop in the data using kind of embedded fields such as region and industry. So kind of really simple way of comparing results from a personal respondent to their industry and to their sector. But we also did some kind of more advanced analysis. So we did some segmentation analysis, because I think when we first kind of looked at some of the initial results and some of the initial how the initial benefits impacted employee engagement and business performance, we were kind of a bit surprised about some of the benefits that were really impactful. And then doing some more kind of deeper segmentation analysis, we were able to kind of determine that it was actually quite a clear divide in the data between kind of frontline organizations and desk-based. And actually the way that how benefits impacted those performance scores actually varied quite a lot between the two. And actually that was a kind of key segment that we used not only on the kind of data visualization dashboard, but also in the report as well. We were able to really profile, what is the impact for frontline employees, what benefits really drive those, what's really impactful, and then the same for desk-based, because I think desk-based was kind of more focused on commuter benefits and gym memberships, etc. As actually in the front line, it tended to be more kind of insurance and kind of medical support, etc. So I think actually really personalizing it to when people use a tool, they're not maybe necessarily getting just to the generic, oh, this is the most important benefit. It's for your industry, for your type of employees, this is the benefit that's actually most impactful. And I think that's definitely lands data with clients a bit better, because they're able to kind of see and you're able to make kind of really personal recommendations. I think, as Alex was saying, a lot of those conversations are kind of one-on-one and they're really contextual. So the more you can do that with the data, the better. As well as the frontline and desk-based divide, we also came up with these kind of client personas as well. Maybe if I share my screen, I can show quickly this on the visualization tool. So when we mapped together some of our overall scores for employee engagement and business performance, we were able to see that there was, obviously that kind of clear positive correlation, but actually there was quite a few different kind of clusters of people, of respondents, and using kind of quite advanced cluster analysis that our tool offers, we're able to divide between kind of 4 different key segments, which we in turn created these kind of client personas, if you like, with people who performing quite high across both employee engagement and business performance in the kind of leader category, and then appeasers maybe more targeted at employee engagement, drivers, business performance, and then kind of a few kind of low performers, maybe slight outliers. And I think Alex mentioned this last week, but this has actually been really impactful for the way that Reward Gateway kind of speak to its clients as well and understand, what they're trying to get out of their engagement projects as well. And I think it was really helpful for this type of thought leadership program, because it really guides the messaging of, this is where you land. How do you become a leader? How do you improve? How do you, improve employee engagement if you're a driver? How do you, really personalize that approach? Alex, I think you said last week that you're still kind of using these client segments now as part of your kind of service offerings as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we look at our client base, there's infinite ways for us to look at the differences of all of the unique companies we serve. And the creativity and flexibility with which you approach the research have helped us really narrow in on the segments that make the actual difference in how they perform. So desk-based or frontline. We've always known that if you have a frontline workforce and people are out and about and not at computers, you need to manage people differently. That's not a surprise, but it's one of 75 potential differentiators for a particular company. Based on the research that you did, we now know that is the starting place for our conversations with clients. So that client is a unique company with all of these different variables, but the variable we now focus on most is, where are your people? How much control do they have over where they work? And that's not only something we bring to our discussions and to driving connection with prospects and clients, but it's also shifted the focus of further research to say, let's look what else that variable helps us to get smarter about if we look at that variable entirely. And those personas you detailed allow people to measure their success. They can participate in the study moving forward. They can see where they are on that graph, but also we're able to group people into, are you more this type of company, that type of company, or that? So again, limitless variability in our clients and prospects, but the research helped us narrow down in to some very specific talking points and variables that the research indicates is the best way to support them. So it's been super helpful for our full client success team, for our sales teams to get smarter about companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, all of this kind of research talk and some of the analysis techniques used, it's all very geeky, isn't it? But what you've just said there's a kind of real concrete benefits to the way that you're approaching your clients, both in terms of kind of existing clients, but also in terms of a kind of business development perspective as well. I wonder if you could just speak to how that kind of, the fact that this is still going on, the fact that this is still something that people can take part in, how that is kind of improving the longevity of the program and also helping you kind of reach out to clients and potential clients moving forward.
Yeah, there are two questions that our sales teams, our client success teams get on a regular basis. One is, can you prove that this will help me, right? Okay. And also, can you show me how it's benchmarked against other companies? This research has given us some really great talking points in that regard. Again, every company is very, very different and unique, but now we can say, well, okay, we don't have necessarily manufacturing companies in the north of England with, more than 5,000 people, but we're able to really narrow in and say, we've got some great data. And what that means is when they ask those questions, our teams did their best to get smart fast and respond to them, but now we've got graphs we can show them, we've got data. It means people want to engage with us so they can take the survey, they can see where they plot, and they can prove the value of what they're doing to the rest of their leadership team. So big questions that companies handle: does employee engagement matter? And what are other companies like me doing? This research has given us some really specific answers in that regard, not just based on 15 years of experience, which only a small subset of our employees have, but actual data we can point to so that all of our employees can be that much smarter about how to genuinely help people to make their businesses better.
And I suppose just going back to where all this started, and after all, this is a thought leadership campaign, so there's a degree of thought leadership that we would hope we're seeing. You said your CMO Mark. This all started when he kind of went to a conference and wasn't able to kind of see HR people talking about the value of their function. How do you feel like this has kind of reshaped that conversation? Do you feel like Reward Gateway has a kind of different voice, a different take on this now?
Absolutely. I mean, there is ROI happening, but it's companies like Gallup. Gallup is thousands of people with hundreds of researchers. Reward Gateway has been able to elevate our profile in regards to that using this research. We don't have all the answers, but we're that much closer with so many of them. And not only is it gratifying to us as a company to see the difference that our work makes, but it makes it easier for the companies we support, for prospects, for clients to know they're making a difference in the decisions that they're making. So when, in fact, I said I was in Australia presenting this work, there were people that came up to me and said, this is the most valuable thing. I know how to do my job. I instinctively know how to support people. I need to communicate about that to the other people in the company that don't get it. And that's what this research does. So instead of staying within our bubble where everybody just accepts you can't prove ROI, you guys helped us really push beyond to where we're one of the very few companies in this industry that's having this conversation.
And I suppose on the topic of proving ROI, I'm sure, and I can see from some of the names of the people that we have on this call that we've got some people in business development and marketing functions within professional services firms, and I'm sure some of them would be very interested in knowing how you kind of proved the return on investment for this thought leadership campaign as well. So we had that kind of headline figure, 2.25 million worth of value in the pipeline as a result of this campaign. How do you kind of prove that, and how do you kind of demonstrate that?
Yeah, that video was literally a communication of value to our internal stakeholders. So our marketing team, we are part of a larger Edenred family. It's a larger organization that's global. Different parts of that family value marketing and content differently. So we are a part of that family of companies that's very focused on content, very focused on thought leadership. And a lot of our peers may not understand the value of it or why we're spending money on it. And so this was an opportunity for us to say, when you get the content right, this is what you can drive. And so we're really kind of taking that message internally to other organizations, quite frankly, so that we can spread the message, but also we can secure our own budget in the years to come. We want to educate everybody about the power of marketing, of content, of getting the research and the insights. And that's what this project has allowed us to do. Because we were able to answer questions that other companies weren't able to, we were able to push our name out differently. In fact, we did some brand messaging marketing surveys before and after this campaign. And one of the variables that went up the most is that Reward Gateway can help us improve our business. So we've changed how we are seen in the market in measurable ways because of this campaign. And that's helping externally. But as I said, it's also helping internally to educate some of our peers across our network of companies on why this effort is important and why they would want to learn from us.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. We're almost out of time. And before we end, I want to leave everyone on this call and just an opportunity to ask any questions that you would like. So please, if you do have any questions, put them into the chat. But just before we kind of finish off, then I suppose, Alex, one last question from me, which is kind of what's next with this research, and how do you see this being taken further?
Well, as I said, it does take some time and focus for people to participate. While you made the survey and the collaboration made it a lot easier, we still are focused on getting more and more companies in. So we currently have 430 companies. We're able to look at really cool data on a country-to-country basis. But what we're looking to do is push in and gather more and more within country, so we can start to look at the different benefits, not just for frontline and desk-based, but for healthcare, for manufacturing. So our goal is to drive up the end value and get more and more companies in there so that we can get smarter, more specific insights out to people. So we're continuing to run campaigns to drive people to take the survey and really expand on that research ongoing, which is the great part about the dashboard tool that Ethan, you showed. I can go in and find it and see what's happening whenever we get a wave of responses, and we can do a lot with that ourselves.
Great, fantastic. I can't see any questions yet, but the Q&A function is still open for anyone who wants to use it. I suppose I'll just end with one for both of you, Ethan and Alex. So if you could just select one takeaway from this project, this chat for the people on this call who buy in kind of B2B business development and marketing positions, what would you kind of suggest to them when designing their own thought leadership?
I'll start if that's okay.
Yeah, you go first, Alex. Yeah, sure.
When this project was started, I will acknowledge, a naysayer. I have been in this industry for a couple of decades. I didn't think the question was one we could solve for. And so I think it's about partnership and ingenuity and looking for new ways to approach what may seem like a tired question. And I'm really excited by the answers we were able to get, despite the fact that early on, I did not think we were going to make the progress we did.
Fantastic. And Ethan?
Yeah, I think mine follows on quite nicely from Alex's. Really, I think it's in the design element, it's been really. I think War Gateway were really flexible in terms of what they wanted. They knew what they wanted to do, but they were open to kind of new ideas and new suggestions. And I think the way we were able to work with stakeholders as well and really engage those in some early workshops was really powerful for getting that feedback, but also for down the line, obviously kind of getting buy-in from them as well and making it a really kind of powerful bit of thought leadership. Because I think it was such a interesting, complex area to survey that it could have been quite tricky to get the survey across the line. But I think because we, like I said earlier, we took the time to really kind of design this appropriately. We got a really strong data set, which allowed us to do a lot of the meaningful analysis.
Great. Fantastic. And I'll just give my last one before we wrap up, which is find a way to make sure that you are engaging with people beyond throwing your report into the ether. Make it so that it's something that you can take further than the publication. Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining today. Just before I let you all go, if you would like to take a part in the Reward Gateway Economic Value Study yourself, you can. There's a QR code up on the slide now, and we'll share more details with everyone attending this call or who signed up for the webinar afterwards as well. It really is a fantastic piece of research, though I say so myself, and I think there's huge benefit to B2B organisations getting involved in this as well. So please do share it with your HR functions or anyone who's for whom this will be relevant. Thank you very much to Alex Powell for joining us today and for chatting through this, and thanks to my colleague Ethan as well.